Howdy, readers. I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this evening I'm coming to you with a tag. Now, this is a tag that I have been wanting to do since before I actually started my BookTube channel. It's one of the first ones I actually made notes about, and it's called the Commonplace Book Tag, and it was created by Fariba, whose channel is The Medieval Reader. It's a terrific channel. The thing I like best about The Medieval Reader is that on that channel, I encounter some of the headier stuff on BookTube. She is not afraid of kind of going kind of full tilt, intellectual and academic, and I love that. If I could have been a lifelong student, if I could have made a living being a graduate student, I would have probably done that if I could have just decreased the workload a tiny bit. So if you haven't checked out Fariba's channel, The Medieval Reader, you need to do that, especially if you miss college and you miss graduate school, which I'm sure many of us do. So the Commonplace Book Tag. Let me start for just a couple of minutes talking to you guys about what a commonplace book is, because some of you may not know. Now, writers and readers have been keeping these things for centuries now, for literally hundreds of years. And it's basically just a blank journal in which you transcribe the passages or lines or quotations from the books that you read that have really moved you, or that have provided you with food for thought, or that you have found funny or tragic or compelling. It's just a place for you to keep all of the little snippets of literature that have, I suppose most affected you. Now, I've been keeping a commonplace book for about 15 years. And like a true dork, I have been keeping it as a Word document. So it's literally like 40 pages long as a Word document. I have been thinking for years now that I need to get a blank journal in which to transcribe what I have transcribed into the Word document. Maybe do like a quote a day or something, or a passage a day. But I haven't done that yet. So what Fariba wants us to do is to just read out 3 of the passages from our commonplace books that we really love. So I had a look at mine this evening, and I'm going to be reading 3, maybe 4, depending on how I'm doing on time. And then just talk about them, what it is we like about them, why they're important to us. So I'm going to just jump right in. And the first passage that I'm going to read, I actually have them printed out here, so I didn't have to flip through the novel to find them, is from Hilary Mantel's Bring Up the Bodies, the sequel to her novel Wolf Hall. These are the first 2 in the promised Cromwell trilogy. So, Bring Up the Bodies, Hilary Mantel. And I will try to pull a Steve Donahue here and hold the book up while I'm reading. All right. A statute is written to entrap meaning, a poem to escape it. A quill sharpened can stir and rustle like the pinions of angels. Angels are messengers. They are creatures with a mind and a will. We do not know for a fact that their plumage is like the plumage of falcons, crows, peacocks. They hardly visit men nowadays. Though in Rome he knew a man, a turnspit in the papal kitchens, who had come face to face with an angel in a passage dripping with chill, in a sunken storeroom of the Vatican, where cardinals never tread, and people bought him drinks to make him talk about it. He said the angel's substance was heavy and smooth as marble, its expression distant and pitiless. Its wings were carved from glass. So what do I love about that passage? So as it turns out, I actually have a lot of passages in my commonplace book that do something very similar to this, that explore the kind of blurred or fuzzy line between what is real and what is dream or imagined or fantasy or wish or longing, this kind of liminal space between reality and something which transcends reality. And for some reason, I just really respond to those moments in books. I like when writers have the gumption and the vision to float the possibility that there is perhaps something more to this world than what we can take in with our senses. Whether it's angels or ghosts or demons or giants. I love it when writers concede the possibility, just the possibility, that our world may in fact be something far more than we can see or imagine. And if we leave ourselves open to it, we too might encounter an angel on our walk one day. There's something really, really wonderful about that, and something kind of shivery about that. And I thought this was just a great passage to illustrate that. I don't know, that idea that I find myself really drawn to in fiction. Like I said, there are just loads and loads of passages that I've collected over the years that do something similar, that explore that same kind of boundary line between what we perceive and what might be beyond our perception. So that was the first one. The second quote that I'm going to read to you is from Marilyn Robinson's Home, the sequel to Gilead. It's weird, these first two books are both literary novels that are the second in trilogies. That's a little strange. That was unplanned. So again, I'll try to hold the book up here. This is a much shorter passage. Okay. There is a saying that to understand is to forgive, but that is an error, so Papa used to say. You must forgive in order to understand. Until you forgive, you defend yourself against the possibility of understanding. And that is a passage that I think is it's true with a capital T. It's the kind of thing that you read and it leaves you wondering, where did the author kind of arrive at that wisdom? I mean, that's wisdom on a whole other level. And it's the kind of passage that you can spend a lifetime really trying to come to terms with. And it's the kind of passage that it's evident when you read it that there's no escaping the fact that it's true. Like I said, it's true with a capital T. What that does to us, right, as human beings who are oftentimes not terribly prone to either forgiving or understanding, that's our own lookout, I suppose. But once we read that, there's no pretending that we don't know it now, and so we must then move through our lives trying to come to terms with the fact that when we fail to forgive, even the people who have done us, who have done our families, who have done our country, the most extraordinary, vicious wrong, when we fail to forgive those people, we defend ourselves against even the possibility of understanding what is actually going on. And understanding what's going on is the most important thing. And we can't do that until we forgive. And that is a terrifying, terrifying reality to live with. That quote from Marilyn Robinson somehow contains the most important things of existence in it. And for a novel to have a sentence or two sentences in it that does that is remarkable to my mind. So the last one that I want to do, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do a fourth one, is from Independent People by Haldor Laxness. And let me hold the book up here and read this to you. They stood with bowed heads, all except Bjartur, who would never dream of bowing his head for an unrhymed prayer. They then lifted the coffin out. They lifted it onto the horse and tied it across the saddle, then laid a hand on each end to steady it. "Has the horse been spoken to?" asked the old man. And as it had not yet been done, he took an ear in each hand and whispered to it, according to ancient custom, for horses understand these things. "You carry a coffin today. You carry a coffin today." And so what I wanted to say about that passage, so Independent People is a book that did this to me on multiple occasions. And by this, I mean, so that passage set me up to smile a little bit, to chuckle a little bit. There are numerous kind of wild man characters in this book who are just out there on the heath with their sheep and in the cold, and they're just kind of not quite right. They're kind of not quite all there, and there's something a little comic about them because of their kind of wildness and their madness, and they're just slightly ridiculous. Bjartur and these other men. And so when I was reading the book, and I came to that line, "Has the horse been spoken to?" it made me smile. I was like, of course, these crazy guys, of course, they're going to talk to their horse as well. And even, I mean, going through that, according to ancient custom, for horses understand these things, right? It made me smile again. It's just like, oh boy, these crazy old Icelandic dudes. And then when he whispers into each of the horse's ears, "You carry a coffin today. You carry a coffin today." Yeah, what had felt slightly endearingly ridiculous to me, all of a sudden became so reverent and so mysterious and so lovely that it almost brought me to tears. And the book does that a few times. It does it in multiple places where it sets you to feeling one thing and then just pulls the rug completely out from under you and reveals the scene to be much more complicated and much more kind of magnificent and sort of mythic and fable-like than you had thought or anticipated. So it's a hell of a book. There's a reason why Independent People made my BookTube Top 10s tag, and this passage is one of those reasons. So this was a lot of fun. I loved just kind of moving through the books that I cherish and finding the parts as I'm reading, marking the parts that I cherish most, and kind of collecting and collating them at the end. If any of you enjoyed this and thought this would be a fun exercise, trust me, it is. And I would encourage any and all of you to do this tag and to check out the original tag as well, which I'll link in the box below this video. So I'll just leave it right there. I'm not going to tag anybody specifically because I don't know who keeps a commonplace book and who doesn't. But this might be a good opportunity for you to start doing that because it's a fun and fruitful exercise, and I find it actually aids in my memory of the texts that I read. So I will see you guys again here in a few days. Adios.